Okay, we've got Bridget. You're on. Fendalton-Waimairi-Harewood.
Tēnā koutou katoa, everyone. So kia ora. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to present our board submission on behalf of the Waimāero Fendalton-Waimairi-Harewood ward area. Firstly, we appreciate that many hours and considerations have been involved through the process to help keep rates down while balancing the needs of the community. And as we move into the aftermath of COVID-19, we're facing the financial and social impacts that the pandemic has left in its wake, and council are obviously feeling those pressures, but so too are our residents. So we will take our submission as read, but today I'll just be highlighting some of the key points that we made in our submission. So on the subject of rates, we thank the council for the effort it's made to keep the rise of rates as low as possible. But the board wants to stress that as it moves through the year, please don't lose sight of the goal, keeping the rate rise as close to the 5.42% as signalled in the LTP. With the increase in petrol and food prices, the cost of simply living is significant. So please just keep that front of mind. We're supportive of the council's preferred option of a $153 uniform annual general charge. We support the proposed differential of business properties, and we support the council's intention behind the policy change for extending the use of city vacant differential rating to suburban commercial zone areas. The board agrees that those who keep their vacant sites in a tidy and well-maintained condition that enhances the amenity of the area should not be charged the increased rate. As for water usage, we support the increase to 900 litres to allow for more comfort for larger households, and we support the intention of the policy. However, we have heard from residents that they are concerned about the fairness of charging residents and then not charging others if they do not have a separate meter installed. In terms of capital projects, just coming back to that point around the financial pressures that residents and councils face, we just want to say that now is probably the time to really focus on the basics. And just on that note, our residents expect us to focus on delivering core services effectively and efficiently. With regards to the small number of properties that council has, which are no longer being used for the purpose they were originally for, the board is really excited by this and puts forward the suggestion to use some of this land to restore pockets of natural bush. This would help increase our tree canopy, and if left as natural bush, should also require minimal maintenance. Further opportunities for this land include that where the community has identified a need for additional capital expenditure and there is unutilised council land in that ward, the board would support the council selling that land and allocating a budget equivalent to the sale proceeds to go towards new projects in that community. We can think of a few community groups that would be really excited by this. You gave us the opportunity to share other comments, and we'd like to note that we're getting concerns from residents about the lack of maintenance for roadside amenity features. So for example, the sculptures in Northwood or featured entranceways to subdivisions, that sort of thing. So while these are not core infrastructure, it is disappointing when the upkeep is failing, and it does have an impact on community pride and well-being. So the board understands that these items do not have their own maintenance budget, so any work has to compete against repairs to critical infrastructure, and we recognise that puts staff and contractors in a difficult position. So the board asks the council to consider splitting some maintenance budget into a separate line item dedicated to these amenity features so that they can be maintained without needing to compete with safety critical repairs. After a range of workshops and public feedback, the board has finalised its board plan and its priorities for the next 3 years. I'm sure we'll have a separate opportunity to share what our priorities are, but we want to highlight that one of them is to undertake a scoping exercise for infrastructure to mitigate flooding issues on Brenchley Avenue. The board's intention is for the scoping assessment to be completed in time to inform the 2024 to 34 LTP. We aren't asking council to commit to a fix without knowing how much work is required, but we have seen photos that flooding has been a problem on the street at least as far back as the 1980s. We think the time has come to do an assessment to find out what would be needed to fix the problem. Finally, I want to quickly raise the point that some problems in our area also have exciting solutions and financial return, provided we invest in them sooner than later. And a great example of this is the Monavale Bathhouse. So the Friends of Monavale Gardens will be speaking to their submission regarding the bathhouse tomorrow on Friday, and we support the request to look at bringing some of the funding further rather than leaving it to 2029. There are discussions already for the bathhouse to be rented for functions and events, and the cost to fix the facility would probably pay itself back in a year's time. Again, thank you for all the hard work that has gone into this annual plan. It's been a huge effort and it hasn't gone unnoticed. I'd be happy to take questions if you have any, but I'm aware you've heard many submissions and you have more submissions to listen to. So happy to also receive any questions through email as well. Thank you so much on behalf of the board.
Yeah, thank you. That's very good. Thank you, Victoria.
Oh, thank you, Bridget. Just a quick question. With respect to revenue, spending and borrowing at 1.2 of your submission, you say you asked the council to consider whether there are capital projects which could be caused with a view to keeping the rates down and, context of reducing inflationary pressures. Are there any particular projects that you have in mind?
So when we did our submission, we didn't discuss what would those specific capital projects be. It comes back to that balance, right? Like, we want to see the city grow. We want to see, impact be made. It's been a long time coming for some of these projects, and, a sense of well-being and community pride is important, and we appreciate some of those capital projects are going to do that. I guess we just want to keep front of mind that let's not forget those basics as well, that core infrastructure, that roading, those potholes, just some of the things that really frustrate residents when they're going, I'm paying for rates, they're growing, and, there's so many financial pressures already, like, why can't we get these simple things fixed? So it's just keeping that front of mind. That's the point we want to make.
Hey, Melanie.
I love what you said about the bush for the properties that we. I was wondering, because you didn't identify any in your submission. Are there any in your board area?
I think there are a few, but we haven't. I want to say the next step for us would be to actually take some time to find out.
Because we need to know those for this.
For now. Okay.
Yeah. So, before we make a final decision, we need to know those properties, otherwise they'll all go. So you might want to get that information through to us. Yeah,
that's great feedback. Thanks, Melanie.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks so much, Bridget. Lots of really good stuff in there. Interested in the weighing up between safety and amenity improvements, and the suggestion that we carve off a little bit of that maintenance funding to do amenity stuff so that it didn't have to compete with safety.
Yeah.
That would still mean that we lower our safety budget to do that, and you don't think the amenities stuff should be on top of, as a nice to have, on top of the safety stuff rather than instead of?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't get into the balance of that when we were chatting, but I'd be pretty safe to say that obviously safety comes first rather than an amenity value.
Yeah.
I guess it was more just around what happens when you have these structures that are built, right? They're council owned.
Yeah.
And then it's just sort of a see you later, look after it yourself.
We do need to make sure we put on enough maintenance funding for those.
That's the point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the other one is on the bathhouse.
Yes.
So I'm not all over the details of the bathhouse, clearly. Would it be leased for another group to be leasing out and using the things, or would council get the income from events and those kind of things?
Council? Yeah.
Okay, so it's not run by an external facility? No. Okay, thanks.
Okey-doke. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks.
We're bordering on being ahead of time.